Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. All right, it's overdue, probably 4 weeks overdue. It's the Fantastic Four review. Actually, maybe not 4 weeks overdue, at least 2. I think it's 2. So, with me today, I'm doing something different. I haven't had him on for a while. It's my homie Tom. When was the last time you were on, Tom?
I think Rebirth.
Oh wow, yeah. So
it's been a little minute.
It's been a bit. It's definitely been a bit. So we're going to be talking about the Fantastic Four set, or as I previewed in Black History Month, fa. So. You know, it's...
All right. I'm actually really excited for this set.
I am... I'm not going to lie. I am of a mixed bag. And I'll sort of repeat what I said in Black History Month. I was hesitant because I thought WizKids was going to finish spoiling the bag. And so I just waited. And there were some things that they said in the middle of Fantastic Four, Future Foundation coming out. I was like, oh, well, that changes how I look at this piece, or that changes how I look at this mechanic. And then after a while, it's just like I was waiting for all the shoes in the women's closet to drop. And I feel like there's like 80 more shoes that are waiting in the wings to fall on their heads. So, but...
fair. I mean, having played a little bit of Sealed on this, there are some figures that are like definitely going to get a big jump when rules come out. But I think most of them are still pretty solid as they are, and I like that they'll get better.
Okay. So, here's what we're going to do. Because Tom is on here, and normally I break this up into commons, uncommons, rares, and all this other stuff, and then have a section break. What we're going to do is we're going to go all the way through, just because we are going through pretty much all the figures. This is going to be a long marathon slug. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break at Pybach. Yeah, so Pybach is where we're going to take a break. So we're going to do all the commons and uncommons. Then we're going to end that section. Then we're going to go in the next section is going to be Alex Power all the way, probably through the rest of the figures. And then we'll talk about the objects independently. So, all right. Let's get started. All right, we have Mr. Fantastic 001, which, in my opinion, at 60 points, I think he is okay if you're trying to get a leadership in. But I think that he is going to be better used at 40 points as a sidekick spammer. Like, that's what I think. You play him at 40 points, all your sidekicks get leadership, and yeah, like, I think that is a force multiplier in terms of utility. What do you think, Tom?
I agree, but I do really like what they've done here, where they're actually giving me value on that higher point dial. Like, 8 clicks for 60 points.
Yeah.
And, I mean, granted, he doesn't have willpower right now, so we would ding him for that, but the second the new pack change comes around,
right,
like, the fact that he can push, like, he's great on both dials. But I do agree, he scales infinitely upward based on how many sidekicks we're using. So you probably want to play him on the lower dial just so you can get more sidekicks.
Right. And therein sort of lies my thought process, is that when we start looking at the sidekicks and how cheap they are, him at 40 points and then gaining a bunch of leaderships that you could potentially use to puff up the action removal on your team is ridiculous. So,
yeah, and I will say, I think this is another one of those characters that going to get better as more sidekicks come out.
Correct. Because WizKids hasn't learned their
gonna be-
lesson.
Well, I mean, I'm okay with them making new mechanics and stuff like that. We'll see. But
Yeah.
Sooner or later something broken will fall, but that's fine.
Yeah. And so, pretty much, like I said, I think this guy is definitely going to be useful. Let's go into Invisible Woman. All right. Invisible Woman, number 002. This isn't Sue. This is Delilah. Or Delilah, or however they're trying to do it. Stealth and Cap, willpower, shape change, wild card. I think this is actually not horrible. It's not great, but it's not horrible. But at 30 points, it's something to think about. And I think if you were able to, give her equipment so that she can get access to barrier, she is a lot more fierce. And I'm not fierce, a lot more annoying than a bunch of other characters. Well, what's your thoughts, Tom?
The one gripe I do have on all of these scroll versions of the Fantastic Four is they didn't give them the Fantastic Four keyword, which is probably understandable, but it would have been nice given that they're all in Fantastic Four uniforms as
as legitimate Fantastic Four, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, other than that, I don't really have anything bad to say about the figure. It's a very mediocre figure in that, like, 10 attack, 2 damage. It's not impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But she has team player. If you're gonna run her, it's gonna be on a Scrolls team, copying Scrolls from somebody else. She's gonna have the 50-50 rollout on that shape change at that point. The willpower that she has now, while just kind of whatever, is going to be dramatically better in the future. She has it all the way down her dial. Taking tokens off of herself, acting 2 turns in a row. Honestly, like, statistically, she'll probably be acting in a row about half the time. So that feels good. I like getting 5 clicks for 30 points. Like, if this is the new WizKids formula of, hey, we're going to give you decent stats, we're going to give you a lot of clicks for your point value, but we're going to make them more simple, I'm okay with that. Like, if this is it, cool.
Yeah, I think where they're starting to say is that we'll give you that, but be aware that you're going to get baseline stats, which I'm fine with because they're making the characters power rich in exchange. So with Invisible Woman, like I said, I think she's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah. All right. Next up is the Thing. The Thing is not the Thing. The Thing. It's Scrolls the Thing. And at 30 points, I mean, we're back sort of saying what we've been saying. It's like these things are pretty cool. Wish they had Fantastic Four keyword. But realistically, it's not horrible considering that you have this very disposable brick that's easy to heal that you can chuck out there that also has Scrolls shape change built into its point cost. So there's a chance of it just not being able to be the legal target. So I think this is pretty decent. What do you think?
So right now, in the current game, I don't like him that much.
Fair.
But come post rotation, he's going to be phenomenal because that CCE being passive, so he'll have an 11 attack, 4 damage passively with charge and super strength.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, assuming the objects still work the way we think they do, we're looking at 11 attack for 6 damage with a heavy. Yeah, count me in for 30 points all day.
Okay. All right. Next up is Human Torch. Now, this one I'm actually pretty interested in for a couple of reasons. Is number one, in new rules, like as is in current rules, he's not that good. In new rules, he is ridiculously good, in my opinion, at 60 points. Because now we have somebody that has 8 clicks at 60 points, has decent damage, can be a captain, and then gives all his little sidekicks barrier as free, but to only generate one marker adjacent to a friendly sidekick, regardless of range or line of fire.
Hang on. That doesn't go to all the sidekicks. He gets to make a barrier as free next to one sidekick. That's it. Like that's not a captain trait. That's just a.
Oh, my bad.
Use barrier. Yeah, and he can use it again as free next to one sidekick.
Yeah, sorry. Generate one marker. Yeah, all right. Sorry. The fact he can still generate barrier on top of everything else, I think that does say something, because you can play him at lower points, and he can be that nice little, oh, I can running shot in barrier, or if I take some damage, I can sidestep barrier while carrying, which allows me to sort of reinforce the wall with my sidekick. I think that's a very interesting bonus, but just overall with the cost, I think he is like pretty ridiculous offensively for what we're getting for 60 points. And I'll say this, like, I was a fan of Firelord at 40 points in the previous Fantastic Four set. This would make me sort of question the validity, not necessarily do it, the validity of Firelord when you start looking at Human Torch. So what's your thoughts, Tom?
So at 60, I think he's a fine piece. He's not like a world beater by any means, but I do like him at 60. Honestly, though, if I'm playing him at 40. Because in truth, 40 points for effectively 5 squares of barrier per turn, right? Like that 5 squares of barrier for 40 points per turn, that feels fine. The fact that I can go and do it regardless of range or line of fire next to a sidekick for 1 square, yeah, sign me up. I definitely would do it for 40. I don't know if I'm doing it for 60, like the extra 3 clicks or, but I'm probably, and if we're playing a sidekick, probably going a little sidekick heavy, in which case I think I'm keeping him up. But I like him.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Spider-Man. He has that captain tag. He also has, don't forget to look both ways before crossing the street. Friendly sidekicks can use super senses. I think that's ridiculous. I think, unfortunately, I do think you're probably playing him at his lower point value at 40, but he pretty much makes all your sidekicks a lot more survivable than what they are.
I agree. I'm a little salty about this one, though.
Oh.
So now, granted, giving super senses out is great, but man, they made this Spider-Man kind of suck. Like, you're never playing. I'm sorry, leap climb with an 11 attack, and I mean, 11 for 3 perplex. That's fine. He literally has 2 clicks of 3 damage, entire dial, and it's all top dial. So the second he gets hit, he's going to be off of it. I think you have to play him at 40, and at which point he's a perplex. I would rather them just not have given him the back 4 clicks of hypersonic and just given him perplex all the way down the dial, because they gave him a 2 damage with it and trash it. So, like, if you're using him to attack, you're probably already going to lose. And so, really and truly, the only thing I see him of value is with the sidekick mechanic, and he does that amazing. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts to that. The fact that you're giving out those kind of stats is huge.
Yeah.
Sorry, that kind of power is huge. But other than that, I dislike him.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and move on down to She-Hulk. She-Hulk, I think this is their attempt to try to make this huge bruiser that is accessible. And truth be told, I think it's okay. I know it's not supposed to be the end all be all, or this substitute for everything that's coming. But I think they did an okay design with her. I think also if you're able to give her exospecs, she becomes stupid good. I know that sounds really stupid, really silly, but exospecs on her with her 11 movement, and then she's able to get hypersonic speed to just roll up there and then clock someone. I think that is what she needs to go to be competitive. She has decent keywords. Celebrity has actually gotten a lot better. She has a Fantastic Four TA, so she has the potential to heal. Exospecs would give her some sustainability, whether it's through hypersonic speed or the steel energy. I think that would just work out better for her. So I think this is something that it's a first decent attempt at a cheap, low-cost, deep dial brick while they're trying to maintain their philosophy of trying to make characters power rich. So that's my thought of it. What's your thoughts, Tom?
So what I'm thinking here is, I mean, she's just kind of a generic blah brick, and I don't really play those. I mean, for 75 points, 9 clicks is hard to beat. The stats are good, top dial. Like, she's fine. Honestly, though, as someone who's played a lot of the Swaptastic 4 builds, the only way that she would ever find her way onto one of my sidelines or one of my builds is just if I desperately was having an issue with blocking, because the improvement with destroys blocking is pretty impressive. Other than that, I just... She's fine, but I don't think even on the swap outs for Fantastic Four, I don't think I ever see her play. If you pull her in sealed, you might play her if you got nothing better, but other than that, she's gonna sit in the box.
All right, so let's go down to Ant-Man. Oh man, this is a mixed bag for me. This is a really mixed bag for me. So Ant-Man number 007 starts with stealth and leadership. He has improved movement characters. He can do the Fantastic Four for 4 minutes. You can reroll any attack that has a 4 in it, which in his case is probably a bit more needed considering his high defense values. His lowest defense is an 18, but he doesn't get all his evasion stuff until later. And I would have preferred for him to have like super senses, and I would just have preferred for him to have the super senses shape change on his first click and have that sort of fade out towards the end, then have it the way that it is with the leadership up front. What's your thoughts?
I think that honestly, I don't see him really ever seeing play in modern, unless maybe somehow there becomes a way to give him defend. As far as if you pull him in sealed, you're probably going to play him, because straight up, there's not a lot of reducers in this set. So a 19 with a top tile poison is actually pretty solid. So especially since you can carry him around. If you pull him in sealed, play him. Other than that, he'll see the inside of a box. That's about it.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Medusa. Last time she was on Frightful 4, we got her appearance. This time she is wearing her Fantastic Four uniform for that storyline. So when we're looking at her, again, we're getting these deep dials. We really should have. I really wish this was her Frightful 4, like, incarnation. Oh gosh. It would actually help them so much if you could play her with her Frightful 4 keyword on this. But, that's not the case.
Well, you know what? Now we found a use for Isotopy right there.
Yeah. The Fantastic Four, for 4 minutes once per turn, you may reroll an attack that has a 4. She has TK up front. And unfortunately, I have to say that's not enough to justify her to me. Like,
Yeah,
everything she does is just not enough.
I think she's strictly sealed.
Yeah.
And sealed getting a TK is great. Other than that, she'll never be part of any Fantastic.
Yeah, she doesn't help the Fantastic Four. She sure the heck doesn't help the Inhumans overall. The one thing that she does help is Frightful Four, but she doesn't have the keyword. So that really is just sad. So, all right, let's go to Thing Robot. These things are rather interesting. If you look at the you look at the sculpt, it looks like someone took a tip of a condom, put some metal on the inside, and used it as a head. Like,
it's actually an LED. I'm pretty sure they just stuck a light emitting diode in.
okay,
If that makes you feel any better and less.
yeah, it does. So anyway, I think this thing is actually pretty broken. 20 points for 4 clicks, and you have damage reducers the entire clicks, and you have remote control gaming fun. Friendly sidekicks have power. Choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Move Thing Robot up to its speed value, or Thing Robot makes a close attack. So with 2 sidekicks, they can move him up to his speed. You can buff him up. They'll move him up to his speed value, make a close attack, and then he could make an attack like himself. Like, I think that is very, very interesting in terms of your dynamics of what you could actually do with Thing Robot. Or you can have someone move him up, take the power action, move him up, then move him up again using the sidekick, and then he attacks. Like, there's a bunch of different things that you could do.
So, I think perfect world scenario here, and honestly, this is never really going to happen in a regular game. But let's say we did max perplex on attack and damage, so he'd be a 13 for 7, right?
Yeah, that's a little too. Well, let's just say, are we looking at current rules or new rules?
Current rules, but I mean,
okay.
This is just one of those, like, the absolute potential of this thing is, let's slap some Doc Ock arms on it, which is kind of cool because you can just have a sidekick move him up, have him equip it himself, right? In current rules, he has Endom, so he can push without it being a big deal. The following turn, you chuck him across the map with someone, so that's one action.
Mm-hmm.
You TK him, or sorry, you do the TK, then you have the sidekick move him, right? Mm-hmm. So at that point, we've moved him 13 squares, or we can have 2 sidekicks move, or no, sorry, you can sidekick. So we've moved him 13 squares at that point, and then he have a sidekick do an attack. Now he's done 7 damage, and then have him flurry, and now he's done an additional 14. Like, to get that kind of potential output out of a 20-point piece is insane. Now, granted, again, it's not going to happen in just kind of your standard game. But again, that kind of just ceiling for a 20-point is nuts. And 20 points with invuln all the way down the dial and 4 clicks. I mean, I like him just as mastermind fodder.
Right. There's that too, and when he dies, he heals all your Fantastic Four.
Yep, I am a fan.
Yeah, I think the Thing Robot is the potential to do a lot. Whether it's like stealing your opponent's objects, like blocking key areas, or making some of these sidekicks have craptastic stats, and you functionally just made it so that these craptastic stat characters can do something that's actually like really worthwhile. It's like, oh, here's Spider-Man. My entire crew has super senses, and I have some Thing robots, and now we're about to get going.
Yep.
All right.
Definitely. So one of the problems we've been running into looking at sidekick builds is you don't necessarily have enough damage output to keep threatening them. Because we were looking at playing with Herbie, that we'll cover later. He helps change that. So he's actually really big.
Right. All right. So let's go ahead and do Leech. Leech's outwit, 20 points, Fantastic Four, sidekick, and he has just roll tag sidekick. I think this is just a waste of a Leech sculpt. Like, Leech has been so much of a better character throughout the ages of heroclix.
Well, all right, so I'm going to push back on you just a little bit on this. He's 5 points per click and outwit the whole dial with stealth. Like, that's great. If he dies, so what? He heals my entire team. But he also, I don't know if you've seen the Arty in the set, but if you have them both on the same team, their range becomes 8 for his outwit, and for Arty's like mind control.
Mind control, yeah.
So, and they're both sidekicks, so they get to take advantage of other stuff. I actually really like this Leech. I think anytime you can get sub 30 points for quality support powers like outwit, I'm in. I don't think he's a world beater by any, but I definitely think that he will find some use on a Fantastic Four swap or on a sidekick team. I think he's worth looking.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on down to Mick. Here's our next sidekick, and Mick. Unfortunately, I think you have to have him with the other. What are they? Mole men? They're mole children. You need to have Mick. Yeah, you need to have them with the other moloids.
So I agree there. You got to play them all, but they're all super cheap.
Yeah.
But just it's worth noting ahead of time before we look at Mick, Tong, who we're going to cover later. If all of the moloid children are there, then it which is Mick, Core, Turg, and Core I think makes Turg. So if Tong's there, they all get so 3 figures. So you're talking I want to say it's like a 35-point investment. Or either that or I don't know. They're either 10 or 15 points each. 3 figures, and now you're looking at they're all getting +1 attack and damage. I mean, +1 to all combat values.
Yeah, it's +1 to all combat. If Tong is on there and there's another character, name one of those.
Well, yeah, it's got to be all of the others. But
do they rule that?
It says listed characters.
It just says if the listed characters are on your force. It doesn't have to have all of them. Yeah, Tong. Okay. We'll come to Tong later, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean the important thing is he gets +1 stats, and that's nice.
Yeah. So all right. Next up is it like V or 7?
I think it's just Vil.
It's Vil. Sorry, Vil. Sorry. I look at the real name, not like the big print. So anyway, looking at Vil, I like the sculpt. I'll say that much. So again, Vil is another sidekick, which you just say to yourself, yes, you benefit from a sidekick mechanic, 10 points, yay. Like, there you go.
And, what's funny is I actually like Vil better pre-rotation than I do post. Or, not power chain. CCE is better right now on a character with no move and attack than it will be in the future. But even after rotation, of powers, 11 for 3s.
Yeah. So, next up is Mad Thinker. This character usually is very impactful in terms of me. Well, for me, because I was like, oh, he's finally going to get pop off, and then he never does. So, like, I keep looking at him. I'm like, he's going to still not pop off. So
no, this is going to be the time.
So I'm like, is he going to be wrong again on this? All right, so we have Matt Thinker at 40. He has the stealth, the willpower, the outwit. He also has the roll tag ally. Then he has, I forgot what the ally tag did. My brain sort of.
So the allies give captains and allies his sideline.
Oh, the sideline effect. Yeah. Sideline active. Unique. Modifier. Friendly captains and sidekicks. Modify attack by +1 when attacking 1+ characters with the robot keyword. That can be useful. Okay. Unrivaled. Roboticist of the underworld. Perplex, but only to target characters with the robot keyword. Oh man, my sentinels. My sentinels are oh so happy.
Well, and let's be honest here, right? So at 20 points, you're getting outwit and perplex on a robot team. That alone is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, if you're playing a sidekick team of any kind, you are always going to have this on your sideline because it's free to put there. And +1 attack against one of the more common and actually really strong keywords in the meta right now. Feels really good to me. So
yeah, so
he's a definite pickup.
So my thought in this is as follows. Like, Mad Thinker creates a situation, in my opinion, that it puts Robot a bit on guard. As long as Robot has the constructs, the Robot Magneto and Sabretooth, and pretty much all of the Danger Room constructs. I think this doesn't necessarily affect it, but this hurts Sentinels. Like, it can turn the tide for a Fantastic Four team on Sentinels. A lot more than I think a lot of people realize. If we go back and just say, for example, look at Johnny Storm. Now he is a 12 for 4. Just because. And that's a lot of damage output that's multiplied on a Fantastic Four team. Just for one.
It just says attack, not damage. So.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. My bad. I said I looked at the other +1. Sorry, and I added to that. So yeah, just the +1 on the attack, but still a 12 attack. That's pretty good when you're trying to hit Bastion, and he's an 18, or trying to hit Cyclops Sentinel, who's a 20. Like, that matters.
Yep. So, again, anytime you're going to run a captain or sidekick and you've got a slot on your sideline, stick him on there. You might get lucky. But, real quick, his 40-point dial, I just want to point out, they really went above and beyond on making these higher point dials viable, right? Because his 20-point dial, you're getting 2 clicks. You're paying 10 points per click, right? You're getting 6 clicks on his upper dial. And, when you're going and looking at that, you're paying a little under 7 points per click. That's really nice.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, you're not looking at him as this major combatant. You're looking at him as this support piece, which has a lot more survivability than some people might want to admit. Now, it is unfortunate that, Minions of Doom is what it is now instead of what it used to be, because it could, like Mad Thinker, if this was a wild card, it would greatly benefit from that. But, I don't see Mad Thinker going out there and killing people to heal up.
That's probably fair.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and go into the Prime Mad Thinker. I don't remember when he was part of the Illuminati. Was it the? I don't think he was. I didn't think he was part of like the villain Illuminati. But I haven't been up on my comic books like that. So simulacrum body. When Mad Thinker would be KO'd, you may instead replace him with 13A Mad Thinker on its red starting line, and that character may be placed in a square within 6 squares of the square this character occupied. Protected pulse wave. That's not bad. Probability obsession, probability control, but only to target characters with the robot keyword, regardless of range or line of fire. Ugh. Tom, I'll let you start off. What's your thought?
Oh, I am super, super big on this. First of all, I don't know if you know it, but I have a superpower where anytime I retaliate with Tri-Sentinel, I am really, really good, no matter how much I prop up his attack, of either missing or throwing a crit miss. So, being able to prob that, regardless of range and line of fire, I love that. His trait, being able to go and bring in the other Mad Thinker instead of dying, it's effectively a stop click that is Juggernaut proof, and that feels really good to me. I like Perplex. I like 640 clicks. I'm all about that. Or sorry, clicks, 6 clicks for 40 points. And back dial Pulse Wave with RCE after the rules change is actually going to be pretty solid. He'll be an 11 for 3 Pulse Wave with sidestep. So if somehow he lands on the back 2 clicks, at least he can fight before he gets knocked into the other Mad Thinker. At which point I'm getting the outwits, which feels fine. So, yeah, I'm about it.
Okay. I find this quite useful because now, note, you still have to balance out your, balance out your prime options. But for all the keywords that it has, it covers a lot of very good keywords. And you're able to functionally just give Perplex and Prob to Robot and Perplex and at 40 points with some degree of mobility for everything else. Now he can, prob himself, but I don't really see him being, that aggressive, when all's said and done.
You're definitely playing him back, because Perplex and Prob without needing a fire, there's if you're putting him on the front lines, you deserve to.
Yeah. So I like WizKids. They did something where they linked in the value of the prime to the standard figure. So I have to give them props on that. All right. Next up is Valeria. She's a sidekick. She is probably one of the top sidekicks. Perplex plus energy shield deflection. I mean, that's pretty good. That's ridiculously good.
20 points and 4 clicks of it.
Yeah. So that's get a couple of those. I think she almost comes close to displacing the other Valeria. But yeah.
Not necessarily, but because the other one potentially it's more you're getting leadership, you're getting a lot of extra mobility, she's a lot harder to kill, and you're getting you're also getting the sidestep and the voop, so she can get around. Like, this one's great, but she's not that crazy.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Franklin, which I have to say, in the new world, I think Franklin is a lot stronger play. In the current world, Franklin is okay. Um, he's a sidekick, but I feel like you're getting a lot. Let me dial this back. You're getting a lot because in the current world you have pushable TK. Because I think your only other 20-point TK is Phoenix. But at the other end of it, I still feel like there's a lot to be desired in the current world. In the new world, this Franklin is going to be a lot more ridiculous. Um, and I think he is going to go beyond like fire and forget. Okay, so what's your thoughts, Tom?
Um, okay, so first of all, cosmic keyword on him is big because
Mm,
20 point cosmic TK, great. Sidestep is. I always like having sidestep on my TK because I always seem to put myself in a position where I really need to adjust in order to get that line of fire.
hmm
So that makes me happy. 4 clicks for 20 points, 5 points per click. Sidestep TK. That's me. And no. Um, just the fact that even now, before the rules change, I can afford to push him. I don't feel bad about doing it because it's stable all dial as far as my power set, and I don't need him to attack anyway. I like him. I think that he's not a world beater, but he's an excellent 20-point utility piece. That's what I like to see. Is stuff that's worth or rarity.
yeah. So, there's yeah. So I like again. I agree with what you said. Uh, the utility of Franklin is definitely going to be there going forward. All right. So next up is Jack Power. I like his outfit. If yep, he is a power pack. I think in the past did he have hypersonic speed, or am I thinking a different power pack?
Well, he actually can get it. So the
Yeah,
thing about
Mass
power packs is
Master. Yeah, he was Jack Power. Yeah, Mass Master. Yeah. Sorry, last time we saw him was Secret Invasion. Sorry, go ahead.
uh, I was gonna say that there are four 25-point power pack kids in this, and they all have the ability to swap powers, and one of them has hypersonic ESD, so he can actually get that. One's Force Blast TK, one is an field and exploit, and he's got the sidestep and a CC. So I actually really like these pieces. I know I'm in the minority on this one from people's response to them, right? But I think that you kind of have to look at them. You can't look at them individually. You have to look at them as a whole. And I
Mm,
feel like this one in particular, the whole is definitely greater than the parts. Um, I like them a lot.
okay. I think here. All right. So here's my thought. Going forward in the world that we are seeing, I don't know if they have a place in competitive. I think they have a place in casual. I think they have a place potentially. The only place I see with them in meta, or we'll just stick with Jack right now, is if there is something very specific that you need high mobility for in a Fantastic Four team, and that is it. Like, I think that's the only reason why he solves any problems whatsoever. He,
I think that it's probably pretty fair. I don't likely sitting at a top table of any real competitive event. Um, but it's one of those things where in the back of my head, I keep looking at them going, maybe I can make it work. So who knows? But yeah, I definitely would put them as like a tier, but with like an asterisk of like, hey, they're sidekicks, so they have a whole bunch of things scale upwards for them. Don't count them out completely.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and move to Katy Power. I remember seeing her previous incarnation in HeroClix, Secret Invasion. So let's look at Katy Power. She has energy explosion and exploit weakness. Again, I just hold on to everything that I said previously. Um, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've already kind of given my little spiel about the power pack, so it's the same thing.
All right, we've made it into uncommons. Yay! All right, so now we get the Mr. Fantastic scroll, which I'm like, all right, cool. I think he's okay. I think he is okay. You drop him on top of somebody and he poisons people. If he had outwit, that would just have made him almost perfect. Uh, but yeah, like that's all I see. What's your thoughts, Tom?
I'm with you. He's fine. He's not amazing, but he's completely adequate for 30 points. Like if we got this a couple years ago,
Oh, he'd be
we were
broken.
like, yeah, in a vacuum, we'd have been like, oh my god, this is amazing. Right now, we're kind of used to getting a lot of really good value, and this set as a whole gave us so much that he doesn't get the same shine as he would have just not too long ago. But Empower moving forward is going a lot more of a thing. And so he's one of those figures that we might end up coming back to. The fact that he has monster keyword and empower, and I mean the plasticity and poison, all that's fantastic, got it. But just the low point in power for a monster. So just kind of in the back of your.
Yeah. All right, so we are going to go ahead and move down to Invisible Woman, and I like Invisible Woman because in the current format, because you push that second click and now your team has that 19 defense, and it's really nice to bolster your team, especially if you have a bunch of sidekicks. In the future format, I think her value goes down greatly. uh, I just think it does. I do. She says, I consider them all my children. Once per turn, when a friendly sidekick is targeted by an attack, you may replace that sidekick's defense value with Invisible Woman's printed defense value. Now, you stack that with the Spider Man, it becomes a little ridiculous how stupid it becomes. Because now all these sidekicks have an 18 defense super senses, or potentially a 19 defense super senses. They could do a lot more, but
It's only once per turn.
yeah, yeah, I know it is once per turn, but I'm still saying like that's your option. But unfortunately, I don't think it. Without pushing damage, I don't think this works out as well. Plus, you also have defend, so her trait, in my opinion, works a lot better with her on her lower dial than it does her top dial. If you're running sidekicks,
Yeah, I hate to say I don't like this.
okay,
She's point efficient, but I can get the TK cheaper. I can get the barrier cheaper. So I mean, and even like trying to get to her barrier, I mean, she's either got to take a hit, no reducers on. Like you're never going to be able to take advantage of that post power rotation.
mm-hmm.
Um, so and unless they do something to let us find a way to click them down the dial, but we're not really going to be able to take advantage of that. So I feel like 40 points, you're getting an 18 defend with a TK, and you have to do the defend once on a power pack, and 18 is really nothing special. 60 points, you're getting the thing. You don't really have access to post power chain, and even currently, I've got things. So if I want to use defend with a 19, I can do it with a better character that's giving me other stuff. So I
Right.
just, for a common, she's fine, but she'll probably never get out of my little tackle box.
Right. So let's go ahead and go to the thing. Uh, Again, I look at the thing and it's the same thing I saw with She-Hulk. This is a quite efficient brick that you can throw at your opponents and it would cause disruption. And I think going into the future, a 60-point thing brings a lot to the table. Uh, it's a captain. It's movement. It can move through blocking terrain. Yay. You got to be tough, kid. Friendly sidekicks can use toughness. That's okay. Um, I think that's okay. But you are, in my opinion, the more I see these sidekick bonuses, the more I'm thinking like, yeah, swapping these guys in and off the sideline based off of your matchup matters more so than you having, them there all the time. You know what I mean?
I agree. You're definitely taking advantage of the Fantastic Four swapping mechanic.
Yeah.
um, so here's the hard part for me with this thing, right? You are incentivized to play him on the lower dial in order to maximize the sidekick mechanic, and I am actually really big on him giving out toughness to all the sidekicks because almost all of them have no reducer whatsoever. So even though it's literally the least of the reducers, the fact that I'm having like 10 point characters with 4 clicks and toughness, and then senses or whatever, like, yeah, that's silly. Um, where it gets hard for me is the fact that he's actually really really good on his upper dial. The 60 points for 11 for 4 charge. Like, granted, it's charge, and close combat definitely has its drawbacks, but I like it. He can move through blocking, so yet another reason to never play the She-Hulk, because he does what she does for.
Yeah. And I think also, like, when we're looking at the whole, do I need a chisel to open up line of fire or get to certain characters, and we know that barrier is going to be a stronger mechanic going forward. Like, he is very useful to have on the sideline. Uh, Probably way more useful than we care to admit. Uh, so, like I said, I will definitely be keeping an eye on the thing for his utility for Fantastic Four going forward. Let's
Well,
look at.
and hang on, before we jump off, and the one last thing is at 60 points, he's a perfect swap for swap mechanic for Rare Sue on her low dial, which is how I've basically it's the best way to play the current Fantastic Four swapping mechanic is to run her at 60. So he's a perfect 1-for-1 swap without any waste. So it's one of those nice things.
Yeah. All right. So next up, we're looking at Human Torch. In the new era, this is actually pretty good. In the current era, this is very confusing and not that good. That's all I have.
So in the current era, he's worth playing, but he's a Swiss Army, right? Like, running shot and energy explosion is a nice combo against a lot of teams. There is almost never a situation where barrier is just useless, right? And RCE is great. 10 for 3 is not anything amazing, but like he has a lot that he can do. The fact that he's taking pushing kind of sucks, but that's going to go away. The fact that RCE is going to synergize with the energy explosion a lot better in the future is going to make him leaps and bounds better. But right now, for 30 points, I think he's great, and he only gets better, and I like that. So, big fan.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Miss Thing, which I think this was like Johnny Storm's girlfriend at the time. Yeah. Uh, I hate to say it. Like this was not the most creative point of Fantastic Four. Anyway, so you have the Flurry, you have the Imperv, you have the Empower at 75 points. Improved movement hindering. Fantastic Four, again, re-rolling the 4. I just think this is trash. What do you think?
I kept trying to look for an upside to it, but it's box fodder. Like they've done really well. Not every single one's a home run. Let's just go ahead and move on.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Doctor Doom, who since coming back to heroclix has been a prominent, way more prominent character than he had been at any other point in time in history. So he's an ally plus a captain, which is like, whoa, this is pretty cool. So you have the Council of Doom's expert on destroying Richards. This whole timeline here, I remember all that. Yeah. Sideline active, unique modifier, friendly captains and sidekicks modify attack +1 when attacking characters with +1 characters with a Fantastic Four keyword. This is interesting. I do not think, like in Sealed, this is really strong. In Modern, I think this is questionable. I think due to the difficulty of Fantastic Four, I don't think that you're going to see this, let alone a mirror, which sort of puts me at like, I don't know. Now, if you're looking at, your local comic book shop, oh yeah, this is going to be good, so that you can just trample over. Trample. Let me use proper words. Trample over people that are trying out their new Fantastic Four, HeroClix, and Constructed. This, I think, right there, you're going to see some play for that. The Strong survive once per turn. When an opposing character is healed after resolutions, you may heal 1 click on Doctor Doom or a sidekick. That's pretty good. Because, somebody dies from Fantastic Four and heals. You could heal Doom or a sidekick an additional 1. Enhanced shielding, defend, energy, shield deflection, and vulnerability. I think that's pretty good. His opening values are not that great for 75 points. I think at 30 points is where you're going to be playing Doom. So what's your thoughts?
Honestly, for me, I don't see myself playing him unless it's on the sideline.
Not even on Latveria?
No. There's just so many better options. I just want to put this out there. Like, WizKids, no more 17 defends, please. Like, if we're going to do a crappy defend, let's do it a 6 or lower. If you're going to do a good defend, do it like 8. But 17 defend is just the most ever. There's almost, like, granted, you've got a few 16 floating around on this set, so maybe you're gonna find just for it, but just don't. Yeah, for me, he's gonna be on the sideline active if I'm running sidekicks, like, just in case I get lucky. Fantastic Four team gives me like an extra little bit of net. And so he's not useless, but he's, for me, close to it. That's about it.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move down to Bentley. Now, I won't lie. When I was reading Future Foundation, Bentley was hilarious. I wouldn't want to be Bentley or have my kids like Bentley, but Bentley was pretty cool. And it's pretty clear that he likes Valeria. Secret dreams of being a supervillain. Leadership, when Bentley 23 uses it and succeeds. Instead of the normal effect, he may remove an action token from all adjacent sidekicks. When he uses it and the result is 1, remove an action token from an opposing character of your choice. I don't know how useful Bentley is. until we get some better sidekicks. Excuse me.
I think that's fair. I think you hold on to him because, first of all, 20-point leadership is good. No ifs, ands, or buts, right? He's only going to be good for a Fantastic Four team. But 20 points is one of those weird little numbers that helps with the swap mechanic. And objectively, there's only a handful of Fantastic Four figures that have leadership, so sometimes that's going to be worth having. The negative aspect of his leadership on paper feels bad, but the fact that you can choose any opposing character means you can usually manage to pick the one that's good for your opponent. So he's probably a little better than people give him credit for, but he's definitely like, making boosters fly off the shelves. So grab a Bentley 23.
Yeah. Like I said, I think we need more sidekicks before Bentley can be worth it, in my opinion. So, all right. So let's go ahead and move to Arty, and we sort of talked about Arty before, where Arty and Leech have 8 range with their display powers. Leech being a little bit better with Outwit, and then Arty actually becomes, I think, in the current game, Arty becomes like a triple threat because, in particular, he's able to mind control, plus he's able to incap, and because his values are so low, if you pair him up with the right captains, he starts being a very annoying tie-up for a reasonable amount of points. So I look at Arty as the potential to start causing some major disruption. And again, like I said, if you equip him properly, he starts slinging out that barrier. He's definitely going to be he's going to be a lot more annoying, and he's probably going to be one of your major threats potentially on the board for his point cost. What's your thoughts on Arty?
So I'm a this figure. If the rules revamp goes the way I think it does, he'll get exponentially better. Because triple target mind control from 8 range, when you put him with Leech, which I don't think I'm playing Arty without Leech, and the other way around, without Arty. The triple target mind control is great. If it ends up where NCAP works passively and can go with mind control too, like being able to triple target mind control your opponents from 8 squares away and then drop a token on all of them. Hello?
Yeah, I thought you were going to continue. Okay. So yeah.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
I thought you dropped out.
Oh no. All right, so yeah. All right, so let's get to Tong, because we jumped the gun on Tong, and let's get to it. So you have Force Blast, which I'm questionable on moving forward. Super Senses, which I am questionable on considering what our sidekick options are. So I'm just looking at these power combinations, saying to myself, all right, do I really want this? Then you have the Moloid kids, Mick, Core, and Turg. Unique modifier if the listed characters are on your force. Tong and the listed characters modify their combat values by +1. So I think this is good if you're putting in a whole army of, I think it's Mix, or is it it's one of them that's actually more useful. I forgot which one it was.
Mick is more useful for his dial. Core makes the little pog. It's Turg. So either or.
Yeah.
So you're only playing Tong modifier. We'll need one of her, and especially after the like knockback damage going away. Force Blast is a deal. But, I mean, honestly, if you're playing her, you're mostly trying to keep her safe so that way the other ones get the stat buff. That's worth it.
Yeah. All right, so next up is Wu. And again, we have another sidekick. Flurry, toughness. I'm not impressed. 15 points. If a friendly character named Vil is on your force, Wu and Vil have Passenger 1, but only to carry sidekicks. This isn't bad, but in my sort of like just looking at everything in this set, this doesn't impress me. Its utility is very, very limited in my opinion. You know, those two characters they'll have Passenger 1, so they're moving and carrying around another sidekick. And it may be useful depending on how many sidekicks you have and what those sidekicks are doing. I do know this though, and I know someone's going to be like, you shouldn't cross promote. Once it gets to DC with this mechanic, it's going to be off the chain. Like a Titan set with sidekick mechanic, yeah. Robin as a sidekick, I mean, they're going to gimp him. But just think about him with some of these powers. But I'm just, it's a thought.
The more sets that come out with it, the more value all these.
Yeah.
As it sits, Flurry, the 2, 15. It's a great figure for the point. But honestly, it's probably going to die a lot. And what I don't like about Wu, I wish they would have given him a little bit better of a stat and toughness, or given him some other power like Precision Strike. Literally anything but a modifier that's going to be given to him by the like that kind of feels bad to me. But again, for his points value, like complaining is kind of pointless.
Yeah. So let's go and look at the next Franklin. He is 25 points. And he says, hey, I have so much fun on our sleepovers. This is when I think Leech is like his sidekick. And they go on these adventures in the Pocket universe where older Franklin opens them up to like all these worlds of adventure so he can learn how to be a hero. You have Perplex, but only to target a friendly character with the Power Pack keyword. And I'm like... Or maybe this is a different Franklin.
Nope, that's the one.
Oh, well then, no, this sucks.
Oh, I'm actually gonna have the exact opposite.
Okay.
All right, so hear me out, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 clicks for 25 points, 5 points per click. Phasing prob, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Fantastic Four... most of those builds actually have an issue where, unless you're running Franklin Von Doom, you generally aren't running a prob. You're using just theme probs. So, being able to shift in a 25-pointer for a prob that'll still kind of allow me to flex points and do some other things, I actually really like this figure. And he's just unassuming enough that while he's easy to kill, people tend to want to not mess with him. And if you're running Power Pack, which again is something I want to toy with, being able to perplex them up is great too. But I mean, 25 points for a prob with phasing feels fun.
Okay. All right. Having played the Fantastic Four, I do see what you're saying. That they are relying on theme team, and definitely later in the game, they really do need those theme teams to go off. And they're usually burned through by mid-game.
And we're going to have 2 less probs from forward. Because the new theme team cap on probs is 3, even though they're regular probs now.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. I am willing to... I'm willing to change my tune on that. I will say in the future he's going to be worth a little bit more in terms of usefulness. All right. Next up is Alex Power. And this is their like a little bit more grown up versions here. We swap powers again, and we've already covered this. This is okay. This is not necessarily the best thing that I want. What do you think, Tom?
I mean, it's the same thing I said about the previous two. I kind of look at them all as one functional for 100 points. I like them. I don't think they're top tier. There could be something there. But that's about it. Same with...
Yeah. All right, next up is Julie Power. I like the sculpt. Like, looking at realms and seeing, like, the actual sculpts instead of the digital representations are a lot more telling. Julie Power, I think, is great. I think she's top tier. And I know some of you listening might be like, what the heck did he smoke or eat before he came to that conclusion? But again, having played a lot of Fantastic Four has access to a lot of TK and a lot of Perplex. And the fact that I have a 10-3 starting off, at least right now in the current, iteration of the rules, being able to launch off somebody being a 11-4 or a 12-4 or 11-5 and zip out and then come back a bit and land that first, key strike. I think that matters. And this gives me that ability to just reach out and touch somebody. And if anyone's played on the Fantastic Four map, hypersonic speed can be really dominating on that map if you play it right. Plus getting the additional bonuses and everything else. So yeah, I think this is a really good piece. What's your thoughts?
You cut out there for a second. So 25 point hypersonic's never bad. I always tend to shy away from hypersonic because it doesn't really stack with any. But going forward, her ceiling might even get a little higher. I think she's probably the only power pack kid that you play separate from the others if you are going to play them individually.
Mm-hmm.
And she's good for her points. That's it.
All right. Next up is Wizard. And we had a good Wizard in the last Fantastic Four. This Wizard is okay. But I think this is this is the same guy. This is him on the Fantastic Four version. Yeah. It really just should be his Future Foundation version, but yeah. So the cool
thing is they didn't use the Future Foundation. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. So first and foremost, he's Fantastic Four and team player, which again that opens things up quite a bit because you're able to copy Doom, and being able to copy Minions of Doom with him could actually be useful. So there's that. Also, he is Bentley is the clone of the Wizard. If people didn't know that. So first off, he has Ally, and then it has the Council of Doom's Advanced Tech Expert. Sightline active, unique modifier, friendly captains and sidekicks modify attacks by +1 when attacking. Characters with the scientist keyword. This is actually pretty good. This one I feel has a lot more utility than Doom's. And anti-grav disc free. Choose an opposing character with range and line of fire and roll a d6. Knock that character back a number of squares equal to half the result in the direction of your choosing. Again, before the rules changes, this would have been great. After the rules changes, This is a little bit more situational because it's going to be more about breaking up those formations. So, yeah, like I think this is okay. And at high points at 60, that's fine. At low points at 30, I think it's just as fine.
So, for me, obviously the sideline active thing, you're always putting that on your sidekick builds. It's such a nowadays. Um, as far as his upper dial, I'm never playing. 60 points, he just doesn't do enough for it. But I actually really like the lower dial a lot. Just sidestep, decent movement, flight, so he can get taxi, outwit, and then the free anti-grav. Like, honestly, I'm probably never using the end cap, or rarely using the end cap. I'm usually going to be using him to position people and just to annoy my opponent by knocking their stuff around, so that way I can... Oh, you want a mastermind? Cool, let's knock back your fodder. There's... I don't see a lot of situations where I don't like that, especially like, oh, you're going Fantastic Four thing, and they've got the things defend. Let's just knock the character we want to shoot away from thing and then shoot it. So, I like it. I'm actually very high on this here.
Yeah. All right, so let's go look at Wizard Prime. Yes, this is my Frightful Four. We're back. We're back in the streets once again. Frightful Four. All right, so proof targeting, elevated, hindering in characters. He's got the full Omni beams up. Helmet visor scanner. Free. Choose a character within range and line of fire. This turn, lines of fire drawn to that character can't be blocked or hindered. I like this. And he works like Bill Agent of AIM. He works exactly like Bill Agent of AIM. And I would play him at 25 points. I don't think there's a reason to play him at 50. He's literally Bill Agent of AIM, brought into the modern era, but better, with running shot, TK, and leadership at low point value. I would definitely just say just play him at 25 points. What's your thoughts?
I actually pulled him in sealed and did play him at 5 points. And I was super happy with him. He played very, very nicely. But real talk, man, he's got 8 range. So if you played him at 50, I wouldn't blame you. Because straight up running shot, you can see through elevated hidden characters, so everything but blocking.
Yeah.
You go up, pop the character. He's 11 for 3 with precision strike. And then he can turn around and be like, all right, well, now that we've done that, everyone else can see you too. All right, guys, tee off. Absolutely love it. I don't think there's a bad option.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Jim Hammond. And he's pushing the elevator button. I forgot. I don't know. I've seen him somewhere. I forgot where he was in the comics where I saw him. I just don't remember. Fantastic Four, Invaders, Pass, Robot. That's probably why. Invaders. Shield, Soldier, Spy, Running Shot, Psychic Blast. Fantastic Four plus Shield. I mean, take away... drop the Shield TA or drop the Fantastic Four TA. One of the two.
I actually really like him both. And I legitimately pay the 75 cost for the full dial on this guy.
Oh. I go on. I am all ears.
Okay. So here's the deal, right? Captain, friendly sidekicks can use master, but only to choose regardless of a. Now what you're going to see is a lot of the sidekicks, and there's just in general a lot of figures in this set that have are wild cards that can copy, so that's fine. But I really like the idea of having this guy sit in the back while I throw a bunch of sidekicks at you, and I just have a support figure sitting next to him. And it's like, okay, if you don't outwit, I'm going to mastermind onto this guy with solid reducer, regen at the back half of his dial, and then somebody else to heal him up. And we're going to do this all day.
Okay.
And if you come at me with the side blast or something that, is like, okay, he can't take it, I'll just let you kill the sidekick and hope my Herbie brings it back.
Okay. So that is a way of looking at it. I'm mainly looking at it from just the combat point, but you did bring something up, that Fantastic Four potentially getting access to Wild Card and through Wizard, because I just talked about him. And Wizard coming in at 30 points, then copying Shield TA off of Jim Hammond at 30 points, or Jim Hammond at 75 points. I think there is some potential there. I think Fantastic Four in this set quadrupled down on leadership and didn't add enough to leadership where you're like, oh yeah, that's worth it. Whereas the previous Fantastic Four set quadrupled down on perplex and outwit. So I don't know if this them trying to fill in the rest of the damage power support for Fantastic Four, or is this just them, going with the motif or something?
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of these figures don't. A lot of them don't direct mesh into the current iteration of the Fantastic Four team. Like him, he's not going to be on a regular Fantastic Four build. He's one that you would use on a sidekick build. So, having the 75-point captain with leadership on a sidekick build that they can dump the damage off on feels really good. But he's not going to be on your... Like, if you're looking at him for a regular Fantastic Four team, you're probably putting him.
All right. Let's go to Piebach, and we're going to end this part of the episode. So, Piebach Scrolls. He has... I thought he was on the Fantastic Four. Was he... Either that...
I know this guy used to be called the Power Scroll instead of the Super Scroll. That's all I know about him.
Yeah, anyway. Piebach. Okay, never mind. Okay, so we'll go ahead and look at Piebach. All right, so first off, he's running shot. Then he has his special attack power augmented with the powers of the Earth's mightiest gifted heroes. Free. Choose one to use until your next turn. Energy, explosion, incapacitate, quake, super strength. I wish there was Pulse Wave on there. If Pulse Wave was on there, he's like an auto win. Then unique modifier, friendly characters with the Scrolls keyword. Modify attack by +1 when attacking characters. When attacking only characters with the Fantastic Four keyword. That is pretty good. Does that stack with Doom?
Yeah.
Oh no, but Doom only works for captains and whatchamacallits. Captains and sidekicks.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I was like, I got happy for a moment. Yeah, captains and sidekicks. Yeah, because I would be honest, is that would give me a legit reason to play Doom with Piebach on the sideline. And I think that is... And I'm going to say this as a minor critique, even though this is like the flagship entry of this mechanic, really of both mechanics. But if you're going to have this sideline it active, I buff you if you're fighting this thing, I think it just should be open-ended for right now. So you're like, oh, you get a +1 when you are fighting this thing.
Oh, I strongly...
You cut out. You cut out.
I strongly disagree. I definitely like the limitations on that. because otherwise it would just get so stupid so fast. Like, I think they did a good job putting.
Okay.
Otherwise, what we would be getting out of that was just like terrible. Like, because okay, so you've got, like, take for instance, some of the characters in this game have like scientist, mystical, cosmic, like there's certain Thanoses and stuff that have that, where just having them on your sideline, you're going to be +3. Like, if I had any chance of doing that this game, it would just or for anybody, it would just completely ruin every single one of those generic keywords.
I think that's fine. And hear me out where I'm going to say that. I think there should be an advantage for running a name keyword. If the counter is, look, the generics are going to start having some problems, I think that's fine, because I think we should have some counters while also some generic buffs. But I also am looking at potentially like a world to come where I am sacrificing a swap option, a troublemaker, or troublemaker or trouble alert for this buff, and none of us can pretend that crit miss means Vulcan hasn't changed games, like one-sidedly changed games. But I look, if we're going into this whole sideline, it's going to affect things. If I dedicate my sideline using low rarity figures, mind you, to buff my team against certain keywords, specifically certain keywords, I think that's fine, because I can go through a whole tournament and not encounter that. That's a troublemaker or a trouble alert that I just didn't have, where those are more likely to come in.
I think there has to be a balance to it. I think you can make those, but they need to have restrictions on what figures they work for. Otherwise, you can literally just destroy an entire keyword completely to where it's unplayable very, very quickly. So I think what they did is fine. I think Pybot sucks right now. But I think that he could scale upwards a little bit if some objects come out that synergize nicely, because most of the powers that he's picking are passive in the new rules change. So he might get better there.
Yeah. All right. So everyone, this is part 1 of our review of the show. Review of the set. We appreciate you all listening to us, and then we look forward to you seeing us in the second part. So if you're like, hey, I came and I listened to the previous part first, and now I finished listening to this part. Come on, stop it. All right, so
hey, can we pause for just a minute?
We will in a second. So you can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. And I